Welcome to another edition of the Bleed Los Podcast. This week's podcast is presented by our partners at BetOnline. They continue to be the number one source for all of your betting needs and sports information. Find all of the latest odds on sports developments, including this year's Stanley Cup Finals, Major League Baseball, and the latest fighting news, and even next season's early NFL futures. Head over to their website today. Use your mobile device. That website is betonline.ag. Sign up today, and you'll receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit by using our promo code, which is BELIEVE, BLEAV, and you'll get that bonus and get into all of the action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Thanks to them for presenting this week's episode of the podcast. This week, stopping by La Carne Asada is one of my personal favorite pitchers from what I didn't realize was a long time ago until literally when I started doing a little bit of research. Dontrelle Willis, the D-Train, who's been ruffling feathers in a good way on SportsnetLA. Dontrelle, thanks for stopping by, man.
Honored to be on the show. Excited. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first and foremost, one of my favorite stats about you is that you're the first pitcher to hit a grand slam since Robert Parson in 2002 when he hit one off of Jose Lima, against the Mets back in 2008. I have to ask you, as a former pitcher myself who was a garbage at hitting, what was that feeling like when you hit that grand slam? Because as you recall, pitchers were kind of looked at as like garbage time at-bats, and you just went out there and crushed one.
It's crazy because God rest his soul, Jose Lima was a really good guy and a mentor and someone that I, kind of emulated my game after, a high energy guy, always positive. So, that day, he was tipping his pitches, and all of a sudden I just picked up on what he was trying to do. And we all know that Jose Lima had one of the best changeups, and that was his favorite pitch. And I was looking for that thing, and when I guessed right, I just hit it. And as soon as I hit it, I knew it was gone. And just to be on the road and silence that obnoxious Mets crowd that I love to do, it was an awesome feeling. And just hearing my dugout just go crazy, and it was fun. But I felt bad because that was Jose Lima's last start, with the Mets. But as a pitcher, there's no greater feeling than hitting a home run, and even better, hitting a grand slam.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I never hit one because garbage, but still, I mean, to hit one off of one of the best changeups ever, and correction, it was in 2006, my apologies. But also, fast forward a few months, you hit 2 home runs in one game against the Mets again, against the ageless wonder, Ollie Perez, and Roberto Hernandez. So, I mean, obviously, were they tipping pitches again, or was that just one of those like, oh, okay, you can just rake?
Well, first of all, Ollie must have struck out 7 of our first 8 batters, so he was just dealing. So I was like, listen, I'm not going to allow him to get the 2 strikes to strike me out. I'm swinging at the first thing out of his hand. So he could have threw that thing off the net, and I would have swung at it, like, you know what I mean? So he just threw it right down the middle, and I barreled it. And the home run in Hernandez, I remember. It was the first time I ever seen a split finger, and I was like, there's no chance I can hit that, so you better hit this fastball. And somehow I worked to count the 3-2, and he threw so hard, I never saw the pitch. I just got my foot down and swung, and I barreled it, and I thought it was a double, and it kept going. And Sean Green, who actually I met last night, was in the outfield, and he brought that up. And he was like, man, it was a missile like you're a position player. And I just went nuts running around the bases. And again, it was another situation where my dugout just shook their head like only Dontrelle would do some crap like this. But it was a fun feeling to be able to do that and get the victory for my club.
No, absolutely. And before we get into the Dodger stuff, just, because it's crazy to say this, there's a generation that didn't see you pitch. And as you know, with baseball, I didn't see Koufax pitch. I didn't see Valenzuela pitch because I was too young. And in this case, a lot of people didn't see what, kind of the phenomenon that was Dontrelle Willis. You went out there flat brim. That's the thing I remember about guys talking about in the clubhouse. Yeah, you're out there rocking the flat brim to the side. You brought a little swagger, and you also had a very unique delivery, but holy shit, you were good. You had that deception. You also had a little bit of a kink with timing that threw a lot of guys off, and your stuff was good, right? But you also played on a really good 2003 Florida Marlins team. When you look at that roster, and you're just like, whoa! Like when you see the names on that roster, it's at this point it's borderline legends, right? But when all that stuff was going on, walk us kind of through what it was like for Dontrelle Willis, the man, the person, to kind of absorb all of that at that time.
Well, great question. I'm 21 years old, get called to the big league. So regardless of where you're playing at and who you play for, you're all wide-eyed and, you're taking in the blessings because you finally made it to the pinnacle, but you also want to stay up there too. And I make my first start, and then they fire our manager the next day. So I'm experiencing all these things, within a 24-hour radius. We had a walk-off the night before, and they fired our manager the next day. But I was just, I'm just extremely blessed to play with Pudge Rodriguez, a Hall of Famer, who's my catcher. I'm never shaking that guy off. So that takes that out of it, you know what I mean? And so Derek Lee at first base, Mike Lowell at third base, Miguel Cabrera gets called up a month after me, a close friend of mine. So it was nice to have two young rookies kind of go through the process of being big leaguers. And also this, winning ball games, especially in Miami, you Dodger fans are kind of spoiled. It doesn't happen as often, if you will, you know what I mean? So, being able to kind of be part of something that turns the ship around and being one of the most unlikely World Series winners of all time, it was this whirlwind, man. Like, my mom saw me in Double-A, and I was sleeping on Miguel's couch. Fast forward a month later, I have my own place in an Escalade in Miami Beach. So she's just like, "Oh, this is too much. Like, this is going too fast. Like, my son's on billboards. You know what I mean? He thinks he's handsome and he's not. Like, we got to reel him in. So it was this. I leaned on my teammates a lot. They hazed me a lot. Like, I was serving food on the plane, getting alcohol for them on the plane. Like, they did a good job of keeping me humble, but at the same time building me up when they needed to, because they understood that they needed me to be good for their ball club. But never change a moment in that run, and it was a good experience.
And for the record, the opening day starters for that team: Josh Beckett, Luis Castillo, one of the best second basemen in my opinion that ever played. Derek Lee, first base. Mike Lowell at third base. Juan Pierre in center field. Obviously, Dodger fans know who that is. Pudge Rodriguez, a name that I didn't think get a lot of praise at the time. Juan Encarnacion playing out in right field. Another name that didn't get a lot of praise, Alex Gonzalez playing shortstop, and Todd Hollinsworth. But when you kind of look down the rest of the roster and the changes that were made, dude, you walked into kind of like what this clubhouse for the Dodgers are now, right? So did that even make you even more wide-eyed on top of like, oh, okay, I have to go find my major leaguer to get me through the thing, but I'm also walking into this team that they don't have a lot on the plate, if you will, but they're still superstars here.
Yeah, I mean, they all worked hard, and that's the one thing that I love about the Dodgers, and I'm in the background. Freddie Freeman's an MVP. He still comes out and does his work to get himself prepared for the ball game. And so you seeing all these guys have these nuances, and then you're like, aha, this is why they're good. And that's the same thing with our ball club. When I was in the Marlins, like, we defended well. We wanted to throw strikes. We knew how we were going to win ball games. And so styles make fights. And when the Dodgers are going good, they play clean baseball and they catch the ball. They take the extra base. They throw strikes. So, it's the same formula. And I don't care if they put a track man or a pitch comm in. There's certain nuances in the game that will never change for the next 200 years of this ball game. You have to do the little things right. You have to prepare on a daily basis, and you have to trust your stuff. So, they had a lot more star power than we did, a lot more firepower, if you will. But we knew if we played our style of baseball and, through strikes, we had a good chance, and we were able to win a World Series championship doing that.
And before I throw it to my co-host Juanito here, last thing I'll say on it, you also beat the fighting mighty Yankees who were also really good. And you were the underdog, right? And you went out there and punched them in the mouth. And I'm all about giving people their flowers while they're still here, not when they're gone. So hey, all respect in the world, because those Yankee teams were stupid dangerous.
It's a weird thing, because when we made it after we beat the Cubs and Mark Pryor, who never lets it down that we beat him, and Mark's the best guy in the world. I'm like, you got to stop bringing that up, man. Like, that was 20 years ago. But no, I think they kind of felt like, I wouldn't say they overlooked us. They just felt like if we could muscle them around, and it was a weird thing in Game 1. Juan Pierre gets a bunt base hit. Luis Castillo gets a blue base hit. Juan goes to third, and then Pudge Rodriguez sac flies them in. That happened with all of 4 minutes. So the fans were like, what the hell? They're down 1-0 already? Like, I just got my popcorn. So we knew if we forced our style of play on them that they were going to have difficulties. But it was a fun series. I learned how to drink hard alcohol during that series just because of the stress level of it, being a part of it. But win or lose, you're always blessed to be a part of those type of experiences.
Hey, Dontrelle, it's Juan. I have to follow up on you because you mentioned a favorite of mine, Lima time. And you said that you pattern yourself around Lima time. I got to ask you, because I don't think enough fans take into account with starting pitching. You guys warm up in the bullpen before the game. You're pitching the game. You're throwing pitches in the inning, in between innings. I mean, that's a lot of work already. But Lima time was so high energy. How do you balance all that energy you're wasting just being like animated and pumped into it and not get tired out? I mean, is it better just to be cool, calm, and collective? Or, I mean, I love when players are able to show their emotions and stuff like that. I think that's good for baseball. But you also have a lot of old timers or a lot of red asses who are just like, hey, play the game right, show no emotions. And I'm not talking about Madison Bumgarner, all right, for you guys listening at home. There are other red asses. But, I mean, has anyone ever told you, hey, dude, relax, take it easy, you're going to wear yourself out?
No, not at all. I mean, the one thing that Jose did is in the background, and a lot of fans don't see, a ton of pitchers work their tails off. Like, they run poles. They run up and down the stadium when the stadium's closed. They do whatever they can do to make sure they can throw 130, 150 pitches to go out there and win a big league baseball game. But, sports, you have to play to your personality. And Jose if you saw Jose in the locker room, Jose used to come in the opposing team's locker room, which that's unheard of, and just start talking to everybody. And no one cared because they just loved him and his energy, and he loved the pitch. He wanted to send the fans a message that I'm enjoying what I'm doing in front of you. And so that's why it was so refreshing to even just to play against him. And when you're a guy that can put Lima time on your seats in your car and no one says anything, you earned that right. So he was always a good guy. God rest his soul. But again, I was the same person. I wanted to go out there and show everybody that I was having a good time. I never took one pitch for granted. I've always enjoyed the experiences. I always enjoyed getting booed and my ass kicked in Dodger Stadium. So that's why if you can't beat them, you join them, as you can see, But no, I love all the experiences, man. And so, Madison Bumgarner, he's wound that way. So that's why he pitches that way. That's what got him to the big leagues, and that's what made him successful in the big leagues. Clayton Kershaw, he's a happy guy, but when it's his day to pitch, he's very intense. So whatever it takes to make yourself successful and be true to yourself, that's what you have to do.
So, I know Alonso had brought this up before, but is it true that Lima Time was a singer? Did he have his own band or a nightclub act or something like that?
He did it all, man. That's the joy of him, because he was non-apologetic of who he was. And, a lot of people in this world are envious because we all try to put cloaks and shells, and it's it was just nice to see. And when he sang the national anthem, it was absolutely beautiful. It's one of the best Bible things. You have to look up if you see him sing the national anthem, because he was begging to sing the national anthem. And so, you love those personalities because everybody in your friend group has a Jose Lima. Everybody in the neighborhood has a Dontrelle Willis. Like, you're like, look at this guy. Like, how the hell did he get to the big leagues looking like that and throwing like that? So I think when you're relatable to a lot of people, I think you make fans out of people as well.
Before I throw it over to Alicia, we're speaking with Dodger broadcaster and SportsnetLA analyst Dontrelle Willis. Dontrelle, since you did pitcher-on-pitcher crime on Lima time and hit that grand slam, you had mentioned about he was tipping his pitches. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're a pitcher and you're figuring that out. Did you have more an advantage of that because you know what to look for? Or do the players? I mean, we hear it a lot. Famously, we heard it with Yu Darvish in the 2017. I mean, how common is it for pitchers to tip pitches during a game?
Very common, because as a human, you have triggers to get yourself in an element to where you can be successful, but you don't realize that you're doing it, and so my era was a lot of people, when they wanted to throw a breaking ball, they would move their finger that was out the glove and they would give an indicator that, oh my God, he's trying to get his grip to the breaking ball. Just little nuances that give away something. And like, I remember facing Jose Lima, and when he went up, when he wanted to throw a changeup, his glove was very close to his hands before he broke. And then when he wanted to throw a fastball, I could see daylight in between the glove and his chest. And once I picked that up and I started to guess right in the at-bat, I went straight in the dugout. I was like, I got him. And everybody's like, what is it? And then he had difficulty. Now, he doesn't realize that he's doing this and it's a mechanical flaw. But after that, he had a very difficult time. And that's why I was able to get the grand slam, because our whole team was on him. Because now they're like, oh, either a ball or it's something I can hit with the fastball. So it's very prevalent in sports. You hear about it in poker where guys kind of get nervous and they twitch when they got a good hand or what have you. So, it's just a human nature. And if you can pick up on somebody and get the advantage, most likely or not, you're going to take advantage of it.
And there you have it. That's how Dontrelle ended Jose Lima's career, ladies and gentlemen.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Go ahead, Alicia.
Dang. Hi.
Hey, it's pitcher-on-pitcher crime. I'm just telling you.
And how I'm going to take it, I'm going to stick with the violence and backpedal to something you just mentioned, which I loved hearing. Dontrelle, you mentioned that at Dodger Stadium, you got booed and you got your ass kicked. And I'm all about that, born and raised. So I love hearing that, because I want to ask your opinion as part of the Dodgers broadcasting team, Spectrum, SportsnetLA. There is a recent, I don't know, kind of like surge so a nationally syndicated sports show just gave out their list of the top sports teams. A top TV analyst just gave out the best sports fans, and LA is never on the list. And it's, Boston, New York, Philadelphia. So now that you're part of the team and not just on the field at a stadium, especially Dodger Stadium, which is the cathedral of baseball, in my opinion, can we give some love to the town that is Los Angeles, the fans, the Dodger fans? Honest opinion, because I know you keep it real. Are we fair weather fans the way someone just said on ESPN? Won't mention any names.
First of all, I'm from California. If you're from the West and, Colorado, Arizona, Dodger Stadium is a cathedral of baseball for young baseball players. Everybody wants to go to Dodger Stadium. And I'm from Northern California, And so we're cousins, in that sense of Northern and Southern, where, we might have a little rivalry, but it's all love when we need to have it love when it's come together as a statewide thing. But, it's a great honor to be able to play in Dodger Stadium. I remember all my starts. I just golfed yesterday with Nomar Garcia-Parra, who's on our staff at Sportsnet as well, who hit a home run off me to take the lead in the 6th or 7th inning. So that was fun to talk about with him in the cart. But, I always enjoyed Dodger Stadium. I've always enjoyed the fans. The fans are very knowledgeable. But like the city is built on there's no second place. And that's a good thing. It's an element of either you win We ain't talking about no division titles. We're talking about world titles. And every generation of people that live in Los Angeles has had the Showtime Lakers and Dodger baseball. And they talk about the history of this, how the teams brought LA together. And that's the one thing that's cool about being part of the Dodgers staff. Some people are Lakers fans, some people are Clippers fans, Raiders fans, Rams fans, but the Dodgers unite LA. I firmly believe that. So, and when summertime comes around and the weather's beautiful, there's no better place than being at Dodger Stadium. So, I feel great honor to be a part of a staff that, that's part of the booth that Vin built. So I take it very personally. I take a huge responsibility of that. So it's just fun, man. It's a blessing. I can honestly say I've been on Fox nationally for 8 years, and I've been with the Dodgers 1 year, and I've gotten just as much love. Like around the city, people appreciate, and people are very critical of me as well. I love all of that, because it's a California thing. You're going to get brutally honest with, your analysts and brutally honest with your fans, but that could also be a East Coast bias thing. They're already in bed by the time Dodger Stadium is rocking. And, I lived in Miami, so I can see how that could be a bias thing where that's late in ball games. But they're just hating on LA because LA just gets everything, man. So I think that's what that is.
See, and I love that. And I do know that there is an East Coast bias, and it is a late, to watch the games, you have to stay up late. But I also think we get punished, LA fans, because we have options. And you just laid out all the options. We have great weather. We have multiple teams that win in multiple sports, right? And we just keep growing. So I'm all for that bias. I guess I should worry when they stop hating, right? That's what I'll focus on. And speaking of, I know that you are a Northern California guy. Shout out to Alameda. I'm actually in San Luis Obispo right now.
Okay.
It's a thing with my dad, Father's Day thing. Speaking of my dad, he is the reason that I have this beautiful relationship with baseball. We love the Dodgers, okay? I know you're a girl dad. You have 4 daughters. And do they feel the same way about baseball? Do any of them play sports? Are any of them trying to follow in your footsteps? What's happening?
Nah, hell no. Actually, no, not at all. One plays soccer out in Irvine. I'm so proud of her. Flies back and forth. One of the top soccer players in the Southwest region. Another one plays volleyball. They all one's in cheer. They all collectively get on my nerves evenly, but I love and adore them. They were younger when I played in the big league, so the 2 older ones kind of remember it, but they remember more of the mascots and the food more than daddy pitching. So, I think I've done a good job as a father, telling them to make their own path. But I think now as they get older, they enjoy seeing me on television, saying the same goofy lines I say at home and what have you. But when they look at baseball and they look at fans come at me, they think it's kind of weird because I'm just their dad. And so I think that's more of just the fandom of like, those people know you, dad? And so they're starting to take all of that in. My second oldest daughter, they call her B-Train, and she loves it. She eats it all up. She has B-Train on her cleats, and she wears number 35. And I'm like, baby, you need to set your bar a little bit higher than your father. But, I'm very proud of them. They're smart, beautiful young girls, and they don't look like their dad. So I thank God that I pay a lot in tithes and offerings when I go to church.
Oh, I love that. And any broadcasting hopes for them? Do they want to be on television like dad?
Yeah, they like that part of it. I think they just want to be famous. They just want to be famous. Like this generation, they just want to be TikTok famous and be well known and. I was at a pool with them, and my 2 older daughters are all Google-eyed, and as a father, you're like, what are you looking at? And they're like, that's the boy on TikTok, and I'm like, oh God, I cannot deal with my life right now. So they enjoy it. I think my oldest is starting to get into it, and just like watching me prepare for shows, because I take a lot of pride in just taking a lot of information for the Dodgers and as well as for Fox Sports, but. They're too busy shopping at Lululemon to kind of think about that stuff right now.
Oh boy, well, thank you. Thank you for being with us today. I'm going to pass it on to one of my co-hosts.
Dontrelle Willis, Los Angeles Dodgers / SportsnetLA broadcaster, joining us. Real quick, before we talk about the Dodgers as a pitcher, I have to ask you this because, as you know, we are again, I'm talking about batting. You once were 7th in the lineup, in a big league lineup, and that was the first time that had happened since something like 1973. How much shit did the guys give you that day? Because anything you and I both know about a clubhouse, those guys are going to give you shit.
It was the only time where I looked in the lineup, and I think Mike Mordecai was hitting behind me and someone else, and I did not like it at all. I did not like it. I didn't like it. I was tight. I was pissed because, one, I'm worried about this, my start, but I was hitting the ball so well. I didn't want to make those guys feel small. I didn't want the manager to make those guys feel small. We're all team. I need these guys. And it didn't help that I got a hit that damn night either. So, I mean, it was nuts, but I probably – that might have been the only time I ever talked to a manager saying, please don't put me in that position again. And he understood, but he said it was more so just trying to get those guys fired up to do their job a little bit better. And so – but, I was not happy about that day. But I think we won the ball game, so that's all that matters.
100%. Well, as we've talked about this, and apparently the sky's falling with the Dodgers. I'm still optimistic that they're going to turn it around because obviously, as Dave has said himself, Dave Roberts, this team is too good to struggle this way, right? And as you know, baseball's cyclical. There's patches, rough patches and all that. But obviously with pitching at the moment, there's a lot of injuries. And you kind of have to weather that storm, but the Dodgers have the depth. And that's, kind of the thing that sets the Dodgers aside from kind of everyone, right? From your position, as a guy that had success in the major leagues, knows what it takes to pitch in the major leagues, you kind of see this I don't want to call it merry-go-round at this point, but, you see a lot of guys coming up and down, right? Is it fair to say it is the injuries and kind of these guys having to do spot starts and stuff like that? Or is there something else that we're overlooking and just kind of being cynical since we are spoiled Dodger fans?
That's a great question. First of all, and I say this on air, the other team, they drive nice cars too. And so, this is a division that you knew going in, I believe all 5 managers won manager of the year at one point. Yeah. So these are going to be well-coached teams. And so, you saw it. I heard the first inkling when the Diamondbacks took 2 or 3 from the Dodgers. And everybody's like, oh, no. And then all of a sudden they blew them out for the next 7 games. You know what I mean? And then, the next series was Philly came into Dodger Stadium and blew the pitching staff up. They scored 40 runs against them. They couldn't stop them from scoring. They go to Philadelphia and they crush them, and then they crush them. And so it's one of those things where every championship team deals with adversity, and the only thing that I feel like on paper that's going to stop the Dodgers is injury. Now the depth is there, the trust is there. Glad to see Clayton Kershaw back in the mound, but you also are getting contributions from guys you not necessarily saw coming. Tony Gosselin has turned. I mean, he might be able to start the All-Star game in his own damn stadium. I mean, he's been absolutely outstanding. Tyler Anderson is trying to throw a no-hitter. I mean, you could tell by the way when they're doing interviews, they're like, I don't even know what to say because I can't even believe I'm doing this stuff right now. You know what I mean? It's fun to see him do that. All the credit to Mark Pryor, best pitching coach in the league. Really blessed to talk to him and be around him. He's had success like me, and we've dealt with adversity. And I think he's very forthcoming about game planning, and he has a great sense of when a guy is struggling on the mound because we've been there. So, I mean, he's been absolutely outstanding. And again, when you're the Dodgers, you're going to get everybody's best fight. You're everybody's World Series. So whenever they have a mental lapse, it shows, when you play the Giants, that's a rivalry. So if you don't get the little things done, they're going to be able to win those ball games, especially in their own ballpark. I mean, so it's good. It's all a good thing for this organization to deal with things because it's going to make those guys in the locker room closer and learn how to deal with adversity better. So they're just fine. They're absolutely fine. They're going to win the division and they're going to go deep in the playoffs. And I still believe that they're going to represent the National League in the World Series.
And you actually teed me up for the question that because I want to talk to Mark Pryor on this show. I'm going to be honest. No offense to you or anyone else.
That's okay.
but a part of the reason
Hey, Dontrelle, can you get Mark to do the show for us? Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
I think he's a little busy right now.
Yeah, I was going to say he's a little busy. But the reason I want to talk to Mark Pryor is to find out what the hell did he do to become this pitching guru that's been able to find, obviously the Dodgers have found diamonds in the rough, right? You got your Max Muncies, you got your Justin Turners, you got your Chris Taylors. But with pitching, holy cow, man. I mean, no offense to Rick Honeycutt. Rick Honeycutt is one of the best coaches in the history of the game. But Mark Pryor has taken it up a next level. Yency Almonte, who I last year told these guys too, the Dodgers should go acquire that guy, because he has the stuff. He just needed, to tinker a couple things. And Mark tinkered a couple of those things, and look how good that dude has been. And then Tyler Anderson, no offense to Tyler Anderson, but has completely come out of left field and just changed everything up. What is Mark Pryor doing that just no one else can figure out with some of these guys?
Well, being part of the Dodgers organization, I'm a special assistant to the farm director, Will Rhymes, which I'm still trying to figure out what the hell that means, but they let me in the parking lot, so that's all that matters and stuff. But Rick Honeycutt, first of all, is still around and still heavily involved in the pitching analytics side. The Dodgers do a beautiful blend of being able to blend the analytics and then people that have experiences. I mean, it is truly remarkable. I mean, Charlie Huff's on the staff. I mean, he's got 250 wins. I mean, he's pitched against Barry Bonds and Babe Ruth. I mean, the experiences of guys that have done it at the highest level, you can't pay for that. So the hiring of bringing a Dontrelle Willis and having a Rick Honeycutt and guys like that, and also the analytics side, the players buy into that. Look, Almonte, if your sinker runs, we're going to target you in the middle of the plate. So when you watch Almonte come out of the bullpen, he's, Wills is sitting middle because he's giving him the whole plate for the ball to go upside. Other organizations, they sit him on the outside, then that's ball 1, ball 2, ball 8, ball 9, and now he's out of the game. So is this the mental smarts to be able to convey the message and getting guys to be able to buy in? I mean, even Phillips out of the bullpen, he comes from Tampa, and then all of a sudden he comes here, and he's a lockdown 7th, 8th inning guy. You know what I mean? And his stuff didn't change. It was just about the mentality of how his stuff plays to the hitter, and that's why Mark Pryor is absolutely outstanding. Every time you've seen the pitcher start to go away, his mound visit game is 100%. He always knows when to go out there and be like, look, let's calm it down a little bit. You're one pitch away. And he's well respected. He's well respected. And people are still on that team old enough to remember Mark Pryor as a kid, where he was prime Mark Pryor and one of the best pitchers in the game. So, this Dodgers staff, I mean, listen, I'm honored to be around them because it's one of the elite staffs in baseball.
And with that, one thing, talking about giving someone their flowers, I would say, in my humble opinion, I conduct the "don't fuck with Dave Roberts" train, because we're so blessed to have that guy running the ship. But man, people really, like, they call for his head all the time, and I get it. It's Twitter, the cesspool that's Twitter and all that stuff. But for those, you see it day in and day out. How lucky is this organization to have a guy like Dave Roberts?
I'm going to take you in a day of Dave Roberts. I'm on the outside looking in, and I'm getting myself ready to be a part of this organization, and I just go around and say hello to everybody. And hey, Skip, what's going on? Hey, D-Train, this is what we're going to do. We're going to set up the bullpen. I'm like, wow, like, he is on it. Like, you know what I mean? And so the standard for him, he takes it personal. He's a successful ball player and winner, and he understands what's at stake. And if you're a manager in New York or LA, it doesn't matter what you're doing. Everyone's calling your head. It's just part of the business. It's just the nature of it. No, everyone's not going to enjoy what you're doing, but I think he's handled this run superbly. I think the pressures of being a Dodger when they don't succeed. He's very brutally honest, and I love that comment that he said about, like, we're too good to not get this done with bases loaded twice in Giants ballpark. It's like, we were good enough to get this done. So I love that standard. He lets everybody play loose. He lets everybody have fun, but he just enjoys being a part of it and taking the responsibility. And that's why he said what he said in the spring training. He said, "We're going to be the World Series champs. I welcome the smoke. I want our club to say, hey, we're going to be victorious at the end." So when you set that type of standard for yourself and for your ball club, the sky's the limit.
Alicia, you want to go ahead and ask that question that you had?
Oh, yeah. I just wanted to circle back when you were mentioning Gonsolin and the fire that is his. He's just so amazing, and I could not be happier for the cat man. Don't say nothing, babyface. We won't even talk about. But we are getting excited, right? Collectively, Los Angeles is starting to, get worked up for the All-Star game that will be here soon. It's coming up. Who do you think will be representing the Dodgers, and who do you think should be representing the Dodgers in the game?
Wow. That's a great question. Well, first with Tony Gonsolin, I asked him a question when I first got to meet him in person. I said, do you think you starting those games in the bubble helped you prepare to be a better pitcher on the mound? And he said, absolutely. That was a tough situation. And I don't think Dodger fans really, and no disrespect to Dodger fans, but as a pitcher, you can only lose that game. You can't win that game because they're not allowing him to go deep in that ball game. But for him to go out there in a tough situation in a bubble and go out there and throw strikes and give the team a chance and really set the bullpen up, that was everything. And I think it started to propel his confidence as a ball player and as a pitcher. He always had good stuff. It was just about putting it all together. But now you're starting to see the mound presence, the things that you see from Walker Buehler, the things that you see from Clayton Kershaw. When they're on the mound, it's their day, and they're the dog. You know what I mean? So it's fun to see a guy do that and get the development. The beard's getting bigger. You know what I mean? The cat man is getting bigger on him. And he's needed now. And I know a little bit about that, being able to go from we hope to we need, and they need him right now to continue to be one of the best pitchers in the game, and he will be. As far as the All-Star, Mookie, Freddie, Tyler, half the bullpen. I mean, it's too many guys. Like it's too many. They're just so deep. I mean, it's fun to watch, but they're gonna go on another run. They're gonna go on another run where they win, 7, 8 in a row quietly, and they're gonna be fine. But I think they're gonna have 5 or 6 All-Stars in that lineup.
Nice. Okay.
Hey, Dontrelle, so you just said something that I try to stress on the show as much to everybody. It's like, hey, no pasa nada. Everything is going to be fine. It's a long season. But one thing that did surprise me was after that San Francisco series, when Dave Roberts called out the team, right? And I didn't think what he said was even that bad. It wasn't anything to be over dramatic, but it seemed a little out of character for him, because he is kind of like a Phil Jackson type where, he's even keeled. But have you ever had a situation in the dugout, if you hear that, because to me, I don't think there's anybody on that team that's being selfish. It's really hard for me to sit there and say Freddie Freeman is a selfish player when you see him trying to go the opposite field every time. Trey Turner is leading the team in RBIs and comes up with big hit after big hit. I don't see a selfishness there. So is that just really, you mentioned this before, that the manager was just trying to fire up the other guys. Is this just a tactic to try to get these guys to snap out of whatever funk they were in San Francisco?
Well, it worked. First and foremost, they come down there and the Angels, and they beat the brakes off the Angels, and, all is well. But listen, I mean, it's difficult to manage yourself. It's another monster when you have to manage 26 stars in LA. But I don't think I think the way he worded it kind of was triggering, but I understood what he meant. Like, if a pitcher is having trouble throwing strikes, I don't want you chasing out of the zone. And the situation that he's talking about is, the bases loaded, then Garcia and Duvall come out and they struck Mookie out with a slider that wasn't close. Well, I think he means selfishly, like you want to beat them yourself and knock the guy in instead of just taking the walk. So I don't think it was an attack, and I know for sure the players didn't take it as an attack of being selfish in that sense. It's like, I just want to be the hero. It's like, no, allow our lineup that's constructed to say, hey, the next man up if I don't get my pitch, and so. And when you're an athlete, you want to be the hero. It's a natural thing to go out there and be the guy that writes the shit. But it's all a lesson not only for Dave Roberts, who got a couple new pieces, but for the ball club to be like, hey, man, this is the only way that teams are going to beat us, getting us to chase out of the zone. And up into that series, the Dodgers were the best at not chasing out of the zone in all of baseball. You had to beat them in the strike zone. So to see them uncharacteristically chasing balls out of the zone because the moment got too big to them, you oftentimes against a rival, you're going to be upset about it. But so far, so good. It was a good pep talk. So as long as they keep winning after that Dodgers series, I think we'll forget about it.
One of the things that I find really interesting, and I don't think this is necessary, but the fact that reporters are allowed to go into the locker room after the game and ask questions to athletes after they just lost the game. It's like heat of the moment. They're pissed. And you're going to ask them a question about why you lost that game. Wait, look, we all watched the game. We know why they lost the game. So here's an example. Trey Turner on Sunday has to ask the question, why didn't you score from first on that signal, on that single, right? Look, I don't blame Trey Turner for having the reaction that he did. He's probably pissed. They just got swept. And guess what, man? Are you perfect every day? Every once in a while, you have a brain fart. It's not like he wasn't trying to score on purpose. Has there ever been an occasion for you after a game where you got a reporter sticking their microphone in your face, asking you a question, and it just triggers you, and you just have to do everything in your power not to just go off on the guy?
No, because I'm my hardest critic. So there's nothing that you can say to me that I don't say to myself, especially, on the golf course now that I'm learning to try to find my zen, what I mean? But no, I mean, but at the same time, we're all human. We're all human. Like, we've all had to apologize after a snapping, if you will, and especially when you're putting all your efforts to be successful and you fail. And so it's upsetting, but no, as far as the media, they're an outlet to the fans, and the fans, pay the salaries. So, it's all a balance with that. I mean? And I was always very good about being brutally honest about things, especially when I struggle. But no, I mean, at the same time, as long as you're not disrespectful and you're putting hands on people, I mean, if you're upset, like sometimes you want to see that human emotion, because now it shows the fans that you care. It's not just, I'm going to, brush my hair, take a shower, and go in my $100,000 vehicle and not care. Like, no, I care about this. I want to be successful, for myself and for my ball club and for the city that I represent. So I don't mind it. I like seeing guys fired up, what I mean, and snapping, as long as it's not every damn day where it gets stressful, what I mean? Like, but, I love when guys play with passion. Now, Trey Turner, I saw that play. I think he was just caught in where the ball was and didn't know that he was having to round second and rounding third. So, but again, and yes, he's one of the fastest, but like I said, when I see Mookie drop a ball, it's like, do you get on him? No, hell no, because he's going to score more than he's going to let up. So, I mean, I'm not going to sit there and debate that with Mookie Betts. And I had a chance to tell him that one time. And so the Dodger fans are blessed that this is the best roster constructed. And I know, being a little bit part of the, around the front office, that all they care about is winning. They are involved in winning. It doesn't matter what they're spending. I mean, let's keep it real. $270 million is a lot of chips with them. And so they're committing themselves to be like, I don't care what it takes. As long as we have a parade in Los Angeles, that's all that matters. And so, emotions are going to run high, not only in the front office, but the coaching staff, but with the players as well.
I'm going to follow up, because you just set up Alicia for one, with what you said, in the sense that the fans pay your salary. I'm curious as to how, conscious players are of that. But Alicia, you know where I'm going with this. Go ahead and ask them about the booing. I'm very curious to hear what former players or players think about the fans booing. Go ahead, Alicia. You're on mute, Alicia.
I've been talking about you are so right how spoiled we are. Or B, we love how competitive the Dodgers are. But I also remember the years we were not, and I still went to those games, the McCourt years. So when we do have such an amazing product, right, on the field and the depth, you've talked about all of that, Dontrelle. And when I see and hear fans next to me at Dodger Stadium booing our players, I get triggered. I don't like it. I don't think it's not helpful. We've had other guests on the Carne Asada say the same thing. It's not helpful. They're human, which you alluded to just a few moments ago. Baseball players are human, and we shouldn't, worry when Mookie drops the ball or whatnot. But is it okay? Was it ever okay when you were a player, and now that you're an analyst watching the game from up top, is it okay to boo the players? I mean, and is it effective? Does it help? Because it's not a thing in LA. Let me stress that. It's known, Philly fans, New York fans. We are LA. We're sunshine. Why am I wrong, or am I making a big deal out of this?
No. I mean, it's weird. When I struggled in my later career in Detroit, I was booed and cheered at the same time. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I was booed in the first and then cheered in the fifth. I was like, hey, forget y'all now. Like, I don't want to. You know what I mean? No, but again, they don't get to where they get playing with and against the best players in the world without having their own standard within. So booing to us is just noise. You know what I mean? We know if I got a 6 ERA, I know I suck. I don't need you to yell at me to tell me I suck. Like, I know I'm trash. Like, you know what I mean? And so, like, we understand, but at the same time, you can't have it both ways. Me as a fan, and I'm a diehard Raiders fan, I love Derek Carr, but when he misses a third down throw, I want to kill him. Like, you know what I mean? It's just a natural thing. It's just a natural thing. Like, you know what I mean? It's just a natural thing as a fan, because fan is short for fanatic. So, you know what I mean? And listen, I live in LA now when I work, with Fox. Listen, that traffic is so ridiculous. Like, I'm booing too. Like, you know how long it took me to get in this stadium, and how long it's going to take me to get off this, stadium parking lot and all that stuff. So I see both sides of it, but it's all part of the game. It's all part of the game. The Dodger fans cheer. It's funny because when the Dodger fans when the Dodgers on the road and teams try to boo them, their fans. Oh, the blue wave just overcomes that. The noise and the cheers just come. I mean, I call games in Pittsburgh. There was a sea of blue there. Chicago, Wrigley, they took over that. Arizona, they take over that. I called it Chavez Ravine Southwest. You know what I mean? Because it was more Dodger fans than it was, Diamondback fans in the stadium as well. But I don't think it's something that really bothers the players that much.
And there you have it, folks, ladies and gentlemen. Finally, we have another real NFL football fan here. The autumn wind is a pirate, Dontrelle. The Raiders. That's the only Raiders fan on this show right here. Next year's our year. We're doing it, man. We're doing it.
All I heard there is the years of abuse that have come out.
You can't hurt me. I'm a Raiders fan, dude. You can't hurt me. Say whatever you want.
Like, I love Devontae Adams. I love him, and I wish nothing but the best for him. But when he said what he said about Derek Carr, I was like, oh, this guy, like, come on, how are you gonna? Come on.
Listen, we've dealt with a lot of pain, and I've been a fan since Napoleon Kaufman.
Oh, wow.
I'm a fan. Like, me and my mother, we're diehard fans, and we don't speak to each other until Wednesday, especially if they lose. So, I got a chance to meet Patrick Mahomes, and I gave him a fist pound, and I told him straight, I said, I'm a diehard Raiders fan. I respect you, but I'm a diehard, so I can't shake your hand, man. The hood won't let me shake your hand, brother. So, and he respected it. He understood. He respected it. But, yeah, I love the Raiders no matter where they're at.
I wanted to ask you, so you have the privilege of working, in my opinion, with probably the best broadcast team in all of baseball. You have Joe Davis, you got Oral Hershiser. I feel like that's the best combo. But you've come in. It's your first year. I loved everything you did with Fox, and even the rapport with you and like Papi and all that. It was great, right? But then you come over to this side, and you got Jessica Mendoza, Nomar Garciaparra. You got a murderer's row, for lack of a better term. And obviously we can't leave out the guy that carries the team in his mind, Jerry Hairston. We shout out to Jay Hair, by the way. But you've gotten a lot of praise. A lot of people have been digging what you're doing. And let's be honest, man. Calling a game is hard. A lot of people don't realize how difficult that is. What's the transition been like for you, and how are you taking the fanfare?
Well, first and foremost, I'm very appreciative. I can honestly say this, and I haven't said this publicly, but the night before my first game call, it hit me, and I was like, "Oh shit! This is the house that Vin built. Like this is big. This is something that's important not only for my career as an analyst and a broadcaster, but to the fans in the market." And I literally started thinking of like all the cities, like Santa Monica, Pasadena, like East LA. I'm like, oh my God, it's gonna be like 9 million people watching, like what I mean? Because it's important, and I understood how passionate Dodger fans are. Joe Davis is the best. Does an awesome job preparing. Eric Carroll's, who I work with at Fox, who I owe a lot to getting this job over here at Sportsnet, one of the most well-respected guys. Oral Hershiser is Oral. He's the bulldog. You know what I mean? Like he's someone that's very passionate about the Dodgers, has a lot of cachet. And when you have cachet, you're like, hey, I got some stock in this, man. I care about the product, and I want to see them successful. So I think, Sportsnet and the Dodgers did a phenomenal job just putting together well-rounded people that love the sport and really are passionate about the Dodgers. So, and I think that shows on air. And it's been fun, man. It's been truly a blessing just talking to people and even taking some of their opinions of things they don't like. You know what I mean? My heart don't bleed no lemonade. So when people don't like something, I'm willing to hear it as long as it's respectful. So, it's been fun, man, and I'm honored. And I get to get all this free Dodger gear now. And they're like, everyone's like, you're a homer now. I'm like, that's right, baby. LA all day. LA all day. I'm down, baby. Yeah, so it's a good group, and we feed off each other, and I think that shows on air.
I also feel like we were talking about this off air in our group text. I feel like Eric Karros kind of gets criticized unfairly, as far as, just anything he kind of says, because he's good. The dude's good, and I kind of wanted to hear from you, since you work with the guy, you were giving him his flowers a second ago. Would you also agree that criticism's unfair, or is it one of those? And I understand too. Again, we've talked about this. Dodger fans are spoiled. They got to nitpick something, right? So I feel like to a certain degree with Karros, stuff is being nitpicked. Is it fair to say that?
Absolutely, but that's what we do in California. We nitpick everything, so that's just a natural state. But also, again, that's what I mean about spoiled. Vin Scully is one of the best all time in sports history, not just baseball history, in sports history. And to have him around that long, I mean, I heard a playback from Vin where he knew where my mama worked. He knew all this information. I was just so impressed. So, you kind of get spoiled with that. But as far as Eric Karros, he's clean. He's precise. He loves the Dodgers. He was a great Dodger. I mean, the home run leader for the Dodgers. And so I think for him, he loves the Dodgers so much, and he allows the game to just tell the story. He doesn't speak a lot. You know what I mean? He doesn't narrate the game a lot. But he's honest about what he sees out there. And so I love it. Listen, people talk trash to me all the time on Twitter. When I see that stuff about EK and he's the EK curse, I get effing pissed, because it's like, it's not the broadcaster's job to be hitting the cutoff man. We're just narrating the game here. You know what I mean? Like, so, and they get it. You know what I mean? Like, Dodger fans want, every team wants to win every single day, and I get the fans want that as well. But Eric Karros and Joe Davis is the best. Earl Hershiser is the best, and so I made a lot of money being able to ride coattails, and I'm going to ride their coattail all the way to the top.
Hey, and you know what? You get some free gear out of it too. So I mean, a dub is a dub, right?
We got to live.
And real quick too, shout out to the homie John Hartung, who we've had on. He's one of the absolute best. He also just is a pro's pro. And again, I cannot stress this enough. We are so spoiled on the field and off the field as Dodger fans, from broadcast all the way down. It's unfair.
This is, John's doing his dream job. This is his dream, to be able to do this. And let me tell you something. Out of all the analysts, and he's going to kill me for saying this, he's the most emotional about Dodger games. He is up, he is down. Like, it is amazing to see him, John. I have to be like, calm him down, like, pretty bird, calm down, John. Calm down. Like, it's only the fourth inning, John. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but he's invested, and I'm invested. Like, and I have no shame on Fox, and people give me a lot of flack. If I have a top five, Dodgers. If I have a top five, Dodgers. Who's the best? Dodgers. I don't care. I'm a homer. I have no shame in saying I'm a homer, because when you're around the team and you're around these guys, you get to appreciate them and you get to love them and what they're trying to do and what they represent. But yeah, you're absolutely right, and that's what I mean about the group. I mean, to have John as a host and Jerry Harrison, who is a ball of energy and loves the team as well. Everybody's truly invested in the ball club, and I think it shows on air.
Dontrelle Willis, Los Angeles Dodgers broadcaster, SportsnetLA / SportsnetLA. Alicia, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say nice. I love, the energy. You are my dad's favorite new broadcaster to this team. And my dad is one of those nitpicky fans that Juan was just talking about. You know, off with his head. It's the end of the world whenever we lose a series, which is rare. So I'm taking away from this time you spent with the Bleed Los podcast, calmate, right? Everyone just calm down. It's going to be okay. When you do get to go travel to all these stadiums, I love your energy. I love that you're not afraid to call things out. Do you see the wave at any other stadiums? Because that's kind of been an ongoing theme with our podcast. Is the wave okay? When is it okay? Because it's really popular at Dodger Stadium.
I didn't know it was a problem with the wave. I love the wave. Like, I love the wave. I've been on the mound, and this is how crazy athletes are wound. I'm on the mound, second and third in the fourth inning. I'm already losing. I'm like, oh shit, here we go again. Like, you know, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, that's cool. They got the wave. Oh, that's pretty nice. Hey, you need to get up, man. Like, you know, it's part of sports. You know what I mean? It's the beauty of it, man, and getting everybody involved. And is it cheesy? Of course, but there's a lot of things we do that's very cheesy. So who cares? You know, no one's that cool in high school. So, you know, no, I think it's fine. No, but I don't see it much on the road, and I've seen a couple of times where Dodger fans try to get it going, but they're like, "Nah, sit down, man. We tired of y'all. You guys get all the good players. We're not working with y'all." But no, I don't mind the wave at all.
I love it. Guys, it's about that time we talk.
We're gonna wrap things up here, Dontrelle. Before we end the show, the way we always end the show, though, I have a couple of rapid fire questions for you.
Okay.
So, what is the difference between Oakland and Alameda? When people ask you where you're from, what do you say?
I'm from both.
Really?
In Oakland. I'm from both. Born in Oakland, and Alameda is a island city that emulates the Bay.
Oh, okay. Good call. So on the show here, look, we're three Mexican kids, right? So for us, Julio Urias, we worship at the shrine of Julio Urias. That is our boy. There was a conversation I had before Mookie came to the Dodgers. When Mookie was acquired by the Dodgers, there was an African-American man who was older who said to me, he's like, finally, we have somebody that we can root for. This is Los Angeles. How is it that we went this long without having an African-American superstar on the team? And it made me think, well, yeah, I mean, I'm a Dodger fan because of Valenzuela. And I know a lot of Asians. Hideo Nomo is still someone that's huge. I have always said that if the guys, instead of playing basketball or football, went to baseball, baseball would even be better than it already is. How do we get African Americans to choose baseball over those other sports?
Well,
and go ahead and speak for all of the African American community right now. That's right.
No. But that's something that I have stock in, and I've been very blessed to be a black ace, and that's African American. That's 120 games. There's only 15 of us in baseball history, so I'm very proud to be a part of that club. But we have to go in the hood. It is the bottom line. We have to throw money into the hood. Baseball is expensive. Those bats are $400. Trust me, I know. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it is not cheap to be able to get somebody a glove. So you need the ballparks, not only the parks, to be safe and to be fun to play at. And so it's a different element in the hood because I know this, growing up in Oakland, like parks are not necessarily the safest place. We need to make those safe because they teach us how to play with each other and how to play sports at a high level. You know what I mean? So that's the first thing. The second thing is that the Dodgers are doing that and they're rebuilding fields in these, neighborhoods that they feel like, oh, they will not come here. No, we're coming to East LA. We're coming to Compton. We're coming in those places. And you're already hearing about kids coming from these areas already being impactful in the big league. So it works, but you just have to put boots on the ground.
That's awesome. One quick way, I can't have you on the show and not ask you about Miguel Cabrera because, like, what this guy did, he just got 3,000 hits earlier this year, 500 home runs. Is it even possible to say that this guy is underappreciated? Like, there's not that many people that have done what that guy does, and I feel he still doesn't get enough credit for being a great player.
You're absolutely right. He's the term I use about him. He's obnoxiously good. It's obnoxious. Like it's one of those things where he is arguably one of the best right-handed hitters of all time. And I think because the Tigers are on a downturn, if you will, that he's not getting the praise. And when they did make it to the playoffs, he didn't play as well as he wanted to. But this guy is a bad man, a savant in the box, and I don't think that's spoken enough of how smart he is in the box. And I think that's also a thing that goes with, Latino and African Americans. They don't really talk about the intellect as much in sports. You know what I mean? So he knows what's coming. He understands how pitchers are going to attack him. But you're seeing his personality come out, and people are starting to appreciate that more so, just seeing him smile and being a leader and what have you. And so I've been blessed to, be a teammate of his for, I feel like, 10 years and one of the good guys in all of baseball. So, but none of us that know him is shocked that he got 3,000 hits and 500 home runs. Like that's how good he is. I mean, and that's weird to say, but we always knew in AA that this guy's going to go to the Hall of Fame. Like, that's how good he's always been.
Question, because you're a lefty, I'm a lefty, but I don't throw left-handed because I was told that I couldn't do anything left-handed, so that's the irony. But I wanted to ask you, Fernando Valenzuela's 34 is now retired. Obviously, you know the impact that dude had, the impact that he continues to have. Should the 34 be retired?
Absolutely. Absolutely. What he did and the way he is spoke about till this day, the joy, the electricity that he brought to Los Angeles, and he was aware of the responsibility, a lot like Julio is today, of the Hispanic community and going out there and representing it. And representation is important, and I guarantee that you will see another Julio Urias because of Julio Urias, a kid from Los Angeles or a kid from Mexico that saw him pitch. That's the beauty of sports, man. Like, and dreams are cool, especially when they're positive. And so Julio wears a green and red glove. A lot of my friends are Hispanic, so I understand the pride. I grew up in a neighborhood. Fruitvale is mixed, and Alameda is mixed with Hispanics and blacks, and we learn to get along with each other. I ate tortillas with a cold hot dog and the whole nine, the whole nine. Like, and you learn to respect each other in that sense. But I'm always, and I feel bad because I got to get a bunch of Julio Urias bobbleheads for my Mexican friends up north because they want them too. But Fernando was everything to a lot of people, and not just Hispanics. He was everything to the city of Los Angeles, whites and blacks, and the way he went about his business. And when I was compared to him, I didn't like it at all because I knew I was like, I don't hold a candle to that man in what he did. And so when I got a chance to meet him, shake his hand, man, I felt anointed, because, the pride of LA, this man that did it for a long time and did it well. No,
and all truth right there.
So you're a Dodger legend now just for the whole deep dish pizza episode in Chicago. So this question is right up your alley. We're going to end the show the way we always end all our shows, Dontrelle. Here on the Bleed Los podcast, we're about the Dodgers, we're about LA, but we're also about taco culture. I mean, when you come hang out with us, we're inviting you to hang out at the carne asada. So being that you have a culinary taste, we need to know what is your favorite taco and where do you go in the city to get that taco?
Okay, so I'm in downtown, so I've never stayed in downtown before, but I'm a food truck guy. I'm a foodie, so the carne asada tacos have always been my tacos, a little cilantro. But then for the first time 2 days ago, I had a Maria taco. Oh my God. I was like, where have I been in my life? Like the juice was running down my chin and I was doing this. And the guy that made the tacos, he was laughing at me. He was like, yeah, Negro, you like that? I was like, hell yeah. Like, where have I been at? Like, what? I'm slipping, bro. Like, so, like, and so, I don't know, man. I always like a carne asada taco, but that Maria, I don't know. I don't know if I'm saying it right. I apologize if I'm not, but that taco is thunder. Like, I couldn't believe that. So, you have to call me back on that one because that taco was fire.
All right, Dontrelle. Now that you're a friend of the carne asada, we're going to help you out here. It's birria, and I'm just curious. There is a taco. There's a truck right down Cesar Chavez, right over off of Vin Scully Way, out of the stadium. It's called Teddy's Red Tacos.
Okay,
that is some good birria. Okay. Go there. Everything that you just described right now, that's what you're going to experience because that is good. But I have to throw down to your hometown. Well, it might not be your hometown because it's Fruitvale, but I went there once. Those were the best tacos. I still dream of that place. It's called El Gruyense. It's in Fruitvale, right off of the train stop. It's this little hole in the wall, and they had these delicious tacos, any kind. Carnitas, carne asada, whatever you want. And most importantly, they serve squirt there. So any place that serves squirt, they're like you, right there. They're real. So there you have it, folks. Teddy's Red Tacos. You got to check it out. It's right around the stadium.
Okay, I will do, and I'm from 35th Avenue in Oakland, California. That's the Fruitvale district, so I know exactly the place you're talking about. The line is out the door. You can feel heat from the cooking. You can feel heat coming all the way out the door. So I know the line was too damn long, so I never had them tacos up there. But you
got to go back.
Okay, I will do.
When I go see the Dodgers and the Giants, I go specifically to Fruitvale to eat and then come back. Go ahead, Alonzo.
Sorry, I had myself on mute there. Dontrelle Willis, Los Angeles Dodgers broadcaster, SportsnetLA broadcaster. By the way, before I do the exit thing, there's another spot in the Bay. It's called La Cumbre. It's in the Mission. Fire, 100% fire. Like Juan, I still dream of the tacos and the burritos I've gotten there over the years. It ain't fair how good that is. But I'm glad that you're onto the birria train because that's a dub right there.
Yeah, the Mission District, everything's fire in the Mission District. So yeah, I know it's San Francisco, and I don't want Dodger fans to fight me on the street, but that area has been legendary growing up in the Bay Area about just getting good Mexican food and very authentic food as well.
Yes, 100%. Where can the kiddos find you on the social medias if they want to come talk trash to you, like you were saying earlier?
You know what? I got asked that yesterday at the Dodger Gala, and I have no idea. Like, I don't know. Like it's D-Train something, and then my Instagram is young Grizzle. They say 35. I don't know because I'm not young anymore, and they can just look it up and it'll pop that up.
There, Dontrelle Willis. His handle for Twitter is @DTrainMLB. The more you know. We learned that today, right? Go find him. He's a great follow. Connoisseur of two weenies and a fork because he understands. He knows the struggle. And
hey, huevos con weenies forever, right, Dontrelle? Huevos con weenies, man. Huevos con weenies.
The pride of Oakland and Alameda. Now a connoisseur of birria tacos. That's called. The marathon continues. You know what I'm saying? So it's the great come up. Go follow him and listen. We really appreciated your candor and we hope to have you back on.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.